I just kind of decided to hop out ahead of this one and bring a beer in.
I see.
Also, without asking, before we were setting up, Vivian went and grabbed me my, quote, emotional support shark? How did you describe it?
I called it an emotional support fish because I think it's funnier to call a shark a fish.
That's fine, but before we even started, she's like, here's an emotional support stuffed animal. You're going to need it. And I'm like, well, thanks.
I actually don't know what pace the events happen in the VN compared to the anime, so I don't know when the next things I'm thinking of are going to happen.
Wow, but there are more things you're thinking of. Oh, great. I'm so looking forward to this.
I mean, we'll see. Some things might improve. Maybe they solve the problem.
Maybe. Or maybe Sadako finally gets to kill someone.
Yeah?
Let's continue. I went home and washed the day's sweat off in the shower. Normally I could reset everything by taking a shower and forgetting all of the bad things. But that didn't happen today. I got out of the shower to find fresh underwear placed neatly in the laundry basket. Normally I didn't stop to think about it, but today I felt happy at my mother's consideration. At the same time, however, it made me realize how much Sadako must be suffering. At the very moment I was appreciating this gentle kindness, Sadako might be being bruised by her uncle's cruel words. I went up to the second floor and shut myself in my bedroom. And then facing my desk, I folded my arms. My topic of thought, of course, was Sadako. We'd thought that if we could just get a public agency to intervene in the right way, the problem would be solved, but with what Coach said, I didn't think it would be so easy. Sadako was obstinate, and she would stubbornly deny the abuse and try to endure it. And that was an act of torment towards Satoshi, who had protected her before and then run away. I want to point out again that hasn't come from Sadako. That understanding has not come from Sadako herself. That's come from Coach. Not to say that he doesn't have, not to say there's a reason to assume he doesn't have her best interest in mind or hasn't thought about this a lot more than Keiichi has. Just to say that it is 1 degree removed from the source.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think we don't yet have any reason to doubt Coach's sincerity in this, but it is important that this is not what Sadako has said for herself.
Can we talk for a second about exactly that? That all of this is 1 degree removed from Sadako. That she's suddenly demoted to a side character in her own arc because of all of this stuff that's going on with her.
Yep.
And that's sad.
It is. And not
rough.
to mention the fact that it's there's another kind of more sinister framing here, right? Of taking a situation of abuse and instead of making it about the person who is abused, making it about the feelings and opinions of those around them. Right? About this is how Keiichi and his friends feel and this is how they think it should be resolved. This is how Coach feels and how he thinks it should be resolved. I'm not saying it's not good for them to get involved if they truly believe someone's being abused. It's good for them to step in, and not do the whole bystander thing that is clearly happening. But it's important that it's not about how Keiichi feels impotent. It's about what Sadako needs, right?
Yep.
This isn't about making Keiichi feel better. This is about, or it should be about, getting Sadako out of a dangerous situation.
Yep.
And it should be about listening to what she says and what she needs. And I think Coach at least does recognize that what Sadako says and needs might be more complicated than just the make it stop understanding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that it'll remove her from her friends and her outside support network if things do go as Keiichi seems to want them to. After we finished the last episode, I had a moment. I just needed to vent a little bit on the Discord about it, and someone brought up in the discussion episode how I'd been talking about what we owe our communities and what our communities owe to us. right as the whole bystander thing pops up, and I'm like, oh, this. Well, that certainly took it a direction.
You were right about those themes.
I was right.
You're just a little early.
I didn't want to be right. Ugh. As long as she thought that way, the situation wouldn't be so simple. Oh, and it doesn't help that Keiichi already has an understanding that what Sadako says and what she wants are sometimes at odds with each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had that whole thing about him picking apart Sadako's tsundere stuff earlier.
Yep.
So now he's primed to not take Sadako at face value. even if Sadako is saying straightly and plainly what it is she wants to him. Oh, God.
And at the same time, there's the other layer of, and yet, yeah, she often does say things that's different than what she means. And like, she probably does have an unhealthy understanding of her situation because that's what happens when you're an abused child trying to make sense of the world. It's very hard to make sense of the world, and you are not going to come away from it unscarred.
Right.
How do you deal with that in a way that's sensitive to the person involved and responsive to their needs, but also gets that what they're saying and doing might itself not be reasonable, not be the thing they most need.
Right, because it's also important to remember she is a child.
Yep.
She is a child who has, in some ways, has had to mature very quickly, but still doesn't, while we shouldn't dismiss what she says or knows, shouldn't be expected to have, a full understanding of what the situation actually means in a larger context.
Turns out child protection services is really complicated. Who knew?
Who knew? But earlier, before Coach, I made a clear declaration. If I thought Sadako was in danger, then I would do what I had to, right? In the end, that meant I was just going to wait and see, too. Nevertheless, I thought I'd drawn a clearer line than Coach or my friends had. If the time came, I would report it. Over the phone. Given Sadako's personality, she might criticize me if she found out. But I believed it was ultimately the best decision. Wait, Keiichi Maebara. Would that really be all it took for the problem to end? Say that I reported it to a public agency, like the Child Consultation Center. What if they stuck to their wait-and-see attitude like last year again? Last year they decided to do just that and the situation improved temporarily, but then the aunt, thinking herself a laughingstock, increased her tormenting in secret. Thinking herself a laughingstock. We never got that part of it. Was that implied at some point and I just never picked it up, or is that Keiichi just adding in his own?
I don't know.
In the end, things became more underhanded than ever before. This year it was her uncle. I had just seen him for the first time today, but the man seemed much more direct, much more violent than the word underhanded could imply. He wasn't like their aunt. No, not that subtle. He was more direct. He might also assault her with punches and kicks. That could easily be discerned from the bruises and such I saw on Sadako's body. Shit, you're too naive, Keiichi Maebara. However heroic it may seem to report what was happening, if it doesn't save her, then it doesn't mean anything. Reporting things to a public agency was only one option, and leaving everything to them would be dangerous. We would need something more to guarantee Sadako's safety. There's also this undercurrent here, not to take away from, what is happening in the text, but there's the subtextual understanding that public institutions will not save us. And that same attitude could easily be seen in how Hinamizawa has chosen to respond to the dam incident. They have done the things that they're supposed to do, right? They have to a degree written petitions and stuff like that. But they also then took things into their own hands and, in Mion's words, went to war over it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if, on my theory, the Watanagashi killings are part of a community action to keep the dam away, then they are doing more because they think it is justified in their eyes. At a minimum, whether or not my speculation on that is right, at a minimum they went and violently defended themselves and their land over this because they thought it was right and what the public agencies were doing was wrong. And I can only imagine how that same mindset might slowly develop in Keiichi's mind here to this situation.
I think it's also a really interesting lens on the two different ways you can take public institutions will not save us, because there's at least two very different tacks you can take. One is they will not save us because they are fundamentally useless and bad, and we are screwed, and we need to get rid of them and burn it with fire and fend for ourselves. Then there's the tack of, they will not save us because they can't. So we need to build community as a living entity that can be responsive to the needs of its members and take action to change things for the better and do the things that public agencies can't. And those both lead to very different worldviews and outcomes and actions.
Absolutely, they do. And I would like very intentional and not kind of intent and not trying to project one side of that on into my verbiage for that. But
yeah. And it makes you wonder a little bit, like maybe which version of those things one might go down, huh?
Yeah. And especially if you are someone who is like anti-capitalist and don't believe in like the larger systems that at least here in America we've kind of grown up around, like building community is one of the best things you can do. Like building supports and people around you and getting to know them better and like having those things is much better. It is one of the like clear, tangible goals you can take, steps you can take in order to like remove yourself from failing institutions. Anyway, there was nothing to take away from that. We need something more to guarantee Sadako's safety. I scratched madly at my head thinking, then tilted it back, wanting at least a little bit of calm. The memories of angry arguing with my friends today came to mind. I was embarrassed that I hadn't realized it until Rena said something. She was right. My house is big. Compared to all the houses with the straw-thatched roofs in Hinamizawa, it was really big. Yeah, I don't think we've ever really talked about like how strange it is that he and his family do live in Maebara Manor. A very big, somewhat modern-looking house among the straw-thatched roofs, even on the Sonozaki compound, right? We actually did have empty rooms. I never thought that we were affluent, but also never that we were poor. I just didn't admit it because people would think I was arrogant. But maybe my family really is wealthy. Well, your dad can afford to make a living by doing femboy drawings twice a year, so... And your mom does something or other. Wait, so if his dad really does that, then what was his emergency in Tokyo that he got called for?
I feel like it was described at the house party.
Oh,
some other artist dropped out of a thing,
right? And they needed him, right?
He had to cover.
We did have a few rooms we could lend to Sadako. Oh no, is this going to end up with them kidnapping her? Oh no. The guest rooms are only in use when people related to my dad's job come and stay every once in a while. Interesting, so they do stay every once in a while. Plus, if we cleaned up a few of the rooms my dad uses for storage, they could work for her as well. As for food expenses, that might have been a more serious problem than a kid like me could imagine. Lunch every day would be manageable. All of our friends would just have to bring a little bit more for lunch than they usually did. With everyone pecking at everyone else's food anyway, it would be manageable. For breakfast and dinner, though, that would have to be up to Mom. I would need to convince her to lend Sadako more than just a room. Of course, I don't even think convincing her of that would be easy. How much did it cost for one person to eat? How many tens of thousands of yen per month? They couldn't complain about it if I shouldered that, could they? Oh, the literal cost of living. I only had 10 or 20,000 yen in savings, but it was something, right? I actually added even more thanks to New Year's gifts and such, but my parents had taken that all and put it into a fixed time deposit. If I could get access to that, it should add up to a lot of money. And if I got that far, I should ask Mion and Rena to share some of the burden, right? Of course, I wouldn't depend on that. Rena got mad at me, didn't she? About how I shouldn't just shove responsibility onto others. I'd have to ask for help. Even so, I'd basically be saving her myself. I would follow through on it. But it wouldn't just be food expenses, would it? There were a lot of other things you couldn't do without, like baths, laundry. My mother was awfully methodical and strict about cutting out inefficiencies. And for once that was troublesome, she might even make reference to the money it would cost for the detergent Sadako would use for her own clothes. Couldn't think about only food expenses. I needed more money. Hey, wait, Keiichi Maebara, since when was this all about money? It has... Yeah, huh? Even if you could afford it, you would need your parents' permission first. They'd be looking after a young girl for a really long time. What would I say to persuade them? Just calm down a little bit, Keiichi Maebara, and you'll realize right away that you can't. Even if you ask them seriously, they would tell you to call the police. Even if you manage to gain their empathy, why should the Maebara family have to shoulder all the burden by itself? That's what would happen, right? That was it. It was very sad and frustrating, but no matter how much I wanted to help, my resolution alone couldn't save anything. Are kids really this powerless? I felt frustrated. I believed my feelings were stronger than anyone else's. I even thought they were stronger than Coach's, and yet... At that point, there were 2 knocks at my door, and Mom poked her head inside.
Were you awake? I've been calling you for dinner for a while.
Oh, yeah, I'm coming. As someone financially dependent on his parents, I shouldn't say this, but I just sat around doing nothing, and food suddenly appeared. It felt so natural to me that I'd shamelessly thought of it as the responsibility of the parents who gave birth to me. But when I realized that natural thing was actually a right, I came to realize just how hard it was to grant that privilege to others. Even the boring meal in front of me, no better than it ever was, had more meaning than that tonight. There was food for 3 on the table right now, for Dad, for Mom, and for me, and I couldn't imagine how hard it would be to add another place at the table. I like how a lot of this chapter so far is focused on Keiichi encountering some of the first hurdles in what it means to be an adult, right? Think, Keiichi Maebara. If it was hard to make food for 4, then just think about how 4 people could eat food made for 3. Oh. I changed around the way I thought, and with that I began to consider an unthinkably bold plan. Well, that's right. I didn't need to get my parents' permission. She should just live here in secret. I got upset when I found out a while ago, but if I remembered right, you climbed out the window, then shimmied down the first-floor roof of the gutter. You could go in and out of the house directly from my room. Sadako's physical ability far surpassed my own, so it'd be even easier for her. I hadn't even thought about it, but her living here secretly was actually a necessity.
A necessity?
A necessity, huh? Keiichi sure does love to jump to conclusions, Maebara. Sure, because taking her away from abusive situations and put her in a room where she can't leave and has to be living in secret is... better? I don't know. I don't know what the math is on that, but I don't think you're thinking about how she would feel about this, Keiichi. I'd only have to bring Sadako to my house when the public agency said they would wait and see, right? In other words, if Sadako's uncle continued to be her guardian, in such a situation, word got out that she was here, her uncle would barge in and drag Sadako back with him. Her uncle was her rightful guardian, so my parents would hand her over without an argument, no doubt. So I needed to keep it a secret that she was living here! Keiichi Maebara going through the quick conclusions to justify kidnapping someone and not telling anyone about it. Oh, fuck. This chapter's gonna get worse, isn't it? This is gonna get worse.
Define worse.
If it needs to be a secret, then having my parents' help would always mean a lot, but gotta deceive your allies first, like they always say, right? All right. Persuading my parents was an unrealistic proposition, so I'll search for a way to have her live here in secret. When I was around, she would just have to be really quiet in my room on the 2nd floor. The issue was daytime. If she was hiding from her uncle, then she shouldn't go to school, right? Might be lonely, but not going there would be the better option. Surely being her alone and not being able to see her friends ever would be better. I could easily teach Sadako the stuff she learns in her grade. Actually, during school, I mostly help all the younger kids out, rather than study my own stuff. And yes, limiting her contact to one person, it definitely seems like a helpful and not also abusive thing to do. Congratulations, Sadako. I control your life and I'm your entire world now for you. Don't you feel better? Isn't this better? Don't you feel better? I feel better. And I think this is important because this is very much what happens when Keiichi is putting his own feelings about Sadako's welfare first without considering at all what she wants or needs or what would be best for her. Right? This is a solution that centers Keiichi's needs. His need to no longer feel guilty about not being able to do anything. Mm-hmm. And that's... You can argue if you want about whether or not it would be technically better for Sadako. I don't care to have that argument. But it's clear that it's not one that puts her needs first. During the day, I would need to go to school, so I wouldn't be at home. My parents respected my privacy now that I was this age, so they wouldn't go snooping around my room while I was gone. I think. If she holed herself up in my room, it would be okay, right? My parents did come, then thanks to where the second floor was, she could hear their approach from the sound of them coming up the stairs. There'd be a little bit of time before they got all the way up. I estimated a few seconds that she'd be able to hide herself in the closet. Wait, Keiichi. Something doesn't make sense here. If she can't go to school, then what'll she do for lunch? Calm down already. I could just leave her on my own lunch, couldn't I? I should just go to school without lunch and get everyone else to split theirs with me. Okay, that's good. This is good. No more contradictions or oversights, right? Oh, breakfast and dinner. I could somehow get her to go without breakfast. Can go with 2 meals a day when I sleep on Sundays, after all. Every night, I'll pretend as though I had a bigger appetite, ask for a bigger helping. Then I could just somehow give part of that to Sadako. It's a test. I stood up from my seat with a plate of fish in my hands.
What's wrong, Keiichi? Sit down and eat your food.
Well, kind of not in a good mood. Could I eat up in my room?
You'll make a mess. Eat dinner at the dinner table.
Sorry. Hey, wait. I only tried to take away 1 plate of fish and they ganged up on me? In reality, it was impossible for me to smuggle food away without my parents knowing about it, but it must have been worth taking the time to think about. There must be some trick, some method to avoid them realizing. Even if I can't think of one today, I might think of one tomorrow. My appetite was rapidly fading, so I finished early and went back to my room. Went back there and tried to think about it from Sadako's point of view. For example, let's say my parents were coming up the stairs right now. I've got to hide. Open the closet. Clatter, clatter. It didn't open quietly. Hey, didn't it always open real smooth and quiet? Why was it suddenly doing this now? Was this house even structurally safe? Was it already showing signs of dilapidation? Or else were the hinges not greased well enough? Could I just apply some lubricating wax? The sound itself may have been soft, but it left me uneasy as to whether my parents would detect it happening when they climbed the stairs. How long do you think it is until Keiichi realizes that Sadako's abusive uncle must have also thought about some of these things? Right? But this was an easy problem. I could do something about it. Just had to fix it up a little bit so it didn't make noise anymore. For now, I'll close myself in the closet as though I'd successfully hid. I basically always left my futon out on the floor. Couldn't think of any real reason my parents would want to go into my closet. Even so, there still might be some reason they would. Might need to construct some sort of camouflage so she wouldn't be noticed even if they did open it. The more she worried about that, the less time she'd have to actually hide, meaning it'd be more likely they'd hear a noise. And then I suddenly had to go to the bathroom. Bathroom? The need to use the toilet, so obvious and yet such a fatal flaw. The only bathroom was on the first floor. It would be absolutely impossible for her to use it without my family realizing. Might need to set up a portable toilet like a chamber pot, I guess. Sadako would hate it, so she could go in my room. But the stench would be pretty terrible. Anyone sensitive would probably notice the smell without even coming into the room. The bath was okay, though. She could just take a bath when my parents were out, but I couldn't do anything about a toilet. When her stomach started to hurt, if my parents were lazing around downstairs, she'd be in trouble. It was then that I noticed that I'd been clawing at my head with both hands. I sat down in the dark closet with my knees against my chest. I buried my face in them and tore at my hair. The more I thought, the more contradictions popped up. The more I thought, the more things failed. And the more I worried, the more I was reminded of how little power I actually had. My back started to hurt from staying in a cramped space for so long. But if I was to shelter Sadako, I'd need to force her to feel this pain. To live in such a dark, narrow, suffocating place forever. But it would still be better than being abused by her uncle. Or so I wanted to think. It got hard to breathe, so I gave in and crawled out of the closet. I looked at the clock, and to my surprise, it was 3:30 in the morning. It felt like so little time, but it was unbelievably long. When I realized that, I was slammed with a terrible urge to sleep as if the time had only just caught up with me. I didn't have enough strength to fight it, and I fell flat onto my futon. Shit, I can't go to sleep like this. If I waste any time, that'll mean I'm taking the same wait-and-see attitude that Mion and Coach and everyone else did. I needed to keep worrying about how to rescue Sadako for a minute, or even a second longer than everyone else. See, he's framing it as, I have to be better about this than everyone else, and that's what's important to him, which means he's putting his own needs in this first, again. Isn't there a better way? Isn't there a better way? And one phrase I spoke to myself swirled around and around in a spiral and steadily took over my entire mind. For my last moment of consciousness, I thought, there were a lot of blind spots in what I'd considered tonight. But I absolutely was not wrong for having those ideas. tomorrow, I would suggest this bold plan to the others. Mion might be able to help somehow, and Renner was really sharp, so she might have a good suggestion. And above all, we needed to rescue Sadako once again with everyone helping out. I felt pathetic for letting myself fall asleep. I'm sorry, Sadako. Yeah, there are so many steps to kidnapping someone and keeping them in your large murder basement. God, this still sucks. Do you have anything to add?
No.
No? Okay. Thanks. I guess I'll just keep going on my own then. This is fine. Hello there, emotional support shark. Thank you for being here. The ceiling blurred into view. It was hot. There was a thin layer of moist sweat on me. The voices of the cicadas permeating my room were somehow grating to my head. What? Today's not Sunday, is it? I remember today was a weekday and quickly brought myself to consciousness. And then finally I leapt out of bed. The clock read a little bit before 10. I was totally late. When I wandered downstairs, my mom would get mad at me. There was nothing I could do, though. After reviewing the schedule for the school day for a moment, I suitably rearranged the stuff in my bag and hurried, got dressed, then went down the stairs. There was no sign of my parents anywhere. Maybe they went out somewhere together? So that's how it was. My mother had probably woken me up once this morning, but then I fell back asleep without remembering it. And my parents, thinking I'd gone to school, just left. Something like that probably happened. I went to the front door, and as I expected, it was locked. Looked like I was right. It was further evidence of my speculation being correct. When I realized my parents weren't here, I suddenly felt less like I had to rush to get to school. Did they leave you a note, Keiichi? They do that when they leave, right? Oh, here we go. There was a portion of breakfast left in the dining room. Probably mine. The milk they poured in it had gone warm since a while ago. When I realized how hard it would be to sneak food for Sadako yesterday, I had cried. Thinking back on it, food wasn't the only issue in that regard. I wasn't in a position where I could care for Sadako by myself anyway. It's such a heavy thing to save just a single person. I'd seen this on TV and comics all the time. Those feel-good words about how you'll save your friends for sure and such. Is that why I ran my mouth like that, swearing to save her because I wanted to feel good about it? No, that absolutely wasn't true. Am I the problem? No, it must be everyone else.
But at the same time, it also isn't the case that that's just why. It's not that he only wants to do it to satisfy himself. He cares about Sadako.
Right.
He just also is approaching this in an unhealthy way. Those two things are both true.
That you are correct. You are correct. You are correct to point that out. Because the solution is also not to just pretend like you see nothing like the rest of the town is doing. Evidently. Because the fact was I couldn't save her. Because I didn't want to think like an adult, like I couldn't do anything but watch. Had Sadako gone to school today? Immediately realized it was a meaningless question. Whether or not she did, there wouldn't be a change in the environment she'd been placed in. If I couldn't save her and no one else could either, then we could only pray for a miracle. Are we so powerless? With a vague goal of getting to school in mind, I sluggishly put on my shoes and stumbled out the front door. It only overslept by 2 or 3 hours, but the sunlight and air felt completely different from how they usually were in the morning. I was going to say 10 a.m. Isn't school usually starting well? Yeah. That's not just running late. That's like, you missed some periods, buddy. The fact that they left the breakfast out, though, that was interesting to me. That's an interesting detail. I wonder if it was kind of thing where, like, they're in a rush. Keiichi, your breakfast is down here, but I gotta go,
Maybe.
Because if it was the thing where they, like, tried to wake him up and they thought he was sick, then they would have, like, probably put breakfast in the fridge or something or saved it for him. The fact that they left milk out to go warm like that, something that needs to be consumed within a certain amount of time, tells me that they didn't expect him to be sleeping this late, or that something else happened that they needed, something like an emergency happened and they left without telling Keiichi? What is this? We know sometimes they get called for emergencies, but that feels like it already happened this chapter, didn't it? Maybe they get called again? Well, of course they did. Once 10 o'clock came around, you could barely call it morning anymore. I didn't feel like walking the same old route to school. I needed to ultimately end up there, but it was like I didn't want to choose the shortest route, the most proactive one to get to school. Put in a more positive light, maybe I wanted some time to walk by myself and think. I had to go to school, partly to make sure Sadako was safe, but I hadn't come up with any plans yet. Nothing since last night. So the path I took from my house was in the complete opposite direction. If I went this way, I'd pass Rena's house and the dam site. It would be quite a detour. Calculated how long of a detour it would end up being then. Satisfied with the answer, I started to walk. Okay. So Rena's house and the dam site are in another... Okay, cool. Rena had brought me to the dam site a few times. One section of it had turned into an unlawful oversized garbage dump, and Rena really liked going fishing for junk in there. Without that, she'd come off as a completely normal girl, too. I can think of a few other qualities she could do without, but whatever. Wow, don't be rude to your girlfriend. The view quickly opened up wide, and I was hit by a strong wind. There was no shelter here at this big dam site. It's the first time we've been back. We didn't go here at all in Chapter 2, did we? At least not on camera.
Yeah.
It was a good thing I came here, I thought. At the very least, it was more healthy to think about stuff in a place like this than instead of my cramped bedroom. I took a deep breath and filled my lungs with the rich cold air unique to Hinamizawa. Ring, ring. I turned around reflexively. It was a bicycle bell. Is this Tomatake? Considering where we're standing, I don't think they were trying to get me out of the way. They rang the bell because they wanted something from me. Hey!
Hey, excuse me. He's back. You're from Hinamizawa, right?
Yes. Why? I've seen this person around a few times. Right, I remembered. His name, I think, was Tomatake, a freelance photographer who lived in Tokyo. He would zealously visit Hinamizawa every season to take pictures, or so me and the others told me, I think. And that, from what we know about him, he was actually visiting Hinamizawa to take pictures even before the dam incident. So he is...
Mm-hmm.
Even if he doesn't live here, he is a known quantity. Even if his name is fake for some reason. Let's not forget about that. He's still living off the grid for reasons we don't know about.
Yep. Could you tell me how to get to the Furude Shrine from here? I think I left my map at the inn. I don't know where to go.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you for a second, actually. He's been here, he's been coming here for years. Like at least 3 times a year. There's no way he doesn't know where the shrine is. And there's an inn at the shrine? Interesting. Oh no, he left his map at the inn he was staying at and doesn't know how to get to the shrine. Yeah, I don't believe you, Tomatake. What is your angle here? The shrine from here? I knew where everything was in my head, but explaining how to get there was difficult. I was a little irritated I haven't been bothered for this, but when I realized it meant my detour actually meant something, that feeling faded quickly. I'll tell you, but it's a little difficult to explain. I could bring you there if you don't mind.
Really? I'd be in your debt. Thanks a lot. But are you sure? Did you have something to do?
Tomatake-san finally appeared to have realized how strange it was for a student like me to be here at this time of day. I smoothly told him not to worry about it, then turned my back and started walking towards the Furude Shrine. Tomatake-san hurried to turn his bike around and came after me. That's super interesting. I'm gonna put it aside for now because my thinking about it is not making any kind of progress other than that's strange. But I want it on the record that what Tomatake is doing here is weird and I don't trust him. But I am gonna put it to the side for now.
Sorry. Don't worry. All guys have times when they need to split up from the pack and be lone wolves for a while.
What a free-minded freelancer. It was easier for me, too, that he was under that impression.
I'm Tomatake, a freelance photographer. I specialize in wild birds and landscapes. I'm still pretty unknown, though.
I'm guessing he means, like, in the artistic world, or in, like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed absurd for him to introduce himself when I was just showing him the shrine, but he gave me his name, so I needed to give mine back. I'm Maebara. Pleased to meet you, I suppose.
Maebara-kun, pleased to meet you.
You seem a pretty silly man, but I feel kind of good considering I've been suffocating with worry over Sadako all night. Along the way, Tomatake-san spoke at length at me about how precious the nature in Hinamizawa was, and how it was a treasure trove of rare wild birds, despite my not having asked. Wasn't interested in what he had to say, but he seemed to be enjoying himself, so I left him to it. And I do believe that no matter what else is true about him, he does have an interest in this, and does actually spend at least some of his time doing wildlife photography. Mm-hmm. He's just way too interested in it to have it only be a cover, you know? Like, it might also be a cover, but it doesn't mean I don't believe he's doing it when he has the chance.
Yep.
And Mio's into it too, isn't she?
Yeah.
That's allegedly how they met. These steps will take you up to the shrine grounds.
Thank you. You really helped me out. No, I think I'm a little late.
Tomitake-san mumbled to himself. He left his bicycle nearby and started to climb the stairs quickly. I didn't have a watch, but so far as my internal clock could guess, it was a little late in the morning. School wasn't very far from here. Maybe I could kill a little more time until then. With that in mind, I went up the steps in pursuit of Tomitake-san. Is he meeting Mio up there? When I reached the top of the long staircase, I arrived at the wide-open shrine grounds that were too grand-looking for this tiny village. Tomitake-san, oh, there he is. Looked like he was supposed to be meeting someone here. Then he got lost and ended up being late. He was bowing to a lady who must have been the person he was meeting. Hello, Mio. That lady. I knew her.
Oh, is that you, Maebara-kun? Hello there. Are you off from school today? What? Oh, Maebara-kun, you followed me?
I wasn't really planning to. I just wanted to kill some time.
Oh my, arriving at work late like an executive. How refined. You certainly are famous, taking the time to look like a big shot.
What was I, a celebrity? Well, she did say my name out of nowhere anyway. Okay, so it's not weird that she knows who he is because they've passed each other in the street before. We saw that in chapter 1. She does work at the clinic, so it's not unreasonable that she's met Keiichi there. Okay. I was oddly concerned about what she meant by famous. Is that just her having a turn of phrase, or is she actually being like, yeah, you're pretty... taking the time to look like a big shot? What does she mean by that? Just being... What is your deal, Mio?
Oh, you still can't remember my name.
I can.
This is Mio Takano-san. She works at the village clinic. Maebara-kun, you seem healthy, so you probably haven't been to the hospital much, have you? Now that we're finally acquaintances, the next time you're sick or anything, I suppose I'll give you a little bit of special treatment.
This lady named Takano-san, I kind of didn't remember her. Maybe we passed each other on the street a few times, but I was pretty sure this was the first time we'd actually talked. Well, this was Hinamizawa. Even if I don't know a person's name, it's not unusual for them to know mine. I glanced at Takano-san and saw he had a bag and a camera. You, photography partners? Is that why you're meeting each other?
Oh, we're nothing like partners. I am but an amateur, and Jiro-san is gently initiating me into it.
Okay, so she's like he's sharing his hobby, and she's gratefully... Well, I mean, she said she was interested in wildlife photography, but it could just be that, like, oh yeah, my boyfriend's into it, so I'm learning along with him. Okay.
Right. That's not it at all. Takano-san's a quick learner. She could take pictures just fine without my guidance. I mean it.
I like that the more the two of these get awkward around one another, the more easy it is for me to read them as partners.
Yep.
Like, whatever it was in episode 1 just didn't ring true to me, and then the two of them started getting really awkward and fidgety, and now I'm like, yeah, okay, I can see it. I couldn't tell which one of them was ahead in the conversation. Well, they were certainly one couple you wouldn't want to get tired of watching.
The festival's finally coming up the day after tomorrow. I hope I can take some good pictures this year. Wait, did I swap it? I think I swapped it.
It could go either way.
Whatever, we'll roll with it. I plan on taking some shots of the setup tomorrow. I want to capture the festival energy shown by the preparations for it, too.
Oh, I just remembered. There's some village festival called Watanagashi or something the day after tomorrow on Sunday. They hold a service with a pile of old futons in order to give thanks to Hinamizawa's guardian deity. Oyoshiro-sama, I think?
Oh, you're correct. You have quite extensive knowledge despite just having moved here.
I just read the first 2 chapters.
Yes, it is a festival to give thanks to Oyoshiro-sama.
Takano-san smiled somehow meaningfully, but didn't tell me what part of the festival to think Oyoshiro-sama needed to be laughed at.
Cryptic as ever, Takano-san, but I do wonder what'll happen this year. You know what they say. If it happens twice, it'll happen a third time, and it's already happened 4 times. I think there's less evidence that it won't happen a 5th time, don't you think?
I knew what they meant by the whispered exchange. On the day of the Watanagashi, a freak death always occurs, which people call Oyashiro-sama's curse, and a disappearance occurs that people call being demoned away. These strange events had happened 4 years running, and Watanagashi rapidly approaching the day after tomorrow marked the 5th.
Oyashiro-sama puts a curse on enemies of the village, huh? If it does happen this year, I wonder, who will find themselves a gunpoint?
Why do you think it's gunpoint?
Oh, and I always come here to pray and donate money whenever I visit. It won't be me for sure.
So is the donated money just like what Rika gets to live off of?
Who knows? Oh, is that so? They say that Oyashiro-sama has been especially harsh on outsiders recently, you know? Maebara-kun might have only just moved in, but he's a proper member of Hinamizawa. But you, Jiro-san, are a stranger who only comes once a year.
I thought it was thrice a year. It's been described as once a season. It's been described as 3 times a year. I don't think...
I wonder, will he let you go this year? That's harsh.
Tomatake-san was the only one with a pained grin, but we all were smiling, me included. It's also interesting that framing of it they give somehow would paint them as enemies of the town. So... if we're just going to take that at face value for a moment, is there a way in which these two are enemies of Hinamizawa somehow? Mio sure does like sticking her nose in places she ain't belong. Maybe that's one way it could be construed as enemy of the town, like she's like a muckraker almost. Oyashiro-sama, the one who used a curse to kill people involved with the damn construction project one after the next. He killed the damn construction manager, killed Sadako's parents for supporting it, and the next year he even killed her aunt. Really quick sidebar here. I know Oyashiro-sama has been consistently addressed as he, but if Oyashiro-sama is actually going to be a character in this game at some point, it's going to be a cute little girl. Like, just going by what we know off of Umineko. Remember that? This is not a spoiler for anything mainline in Umineko, I promise you. But in one of the side materials, he's like, what? They were a man? Ugh, wouldn't it be so much cooler if they were actually a girl instead? Ugh. Oh, that's all I'm saying. Is she's gonna look like a little Toho character. It's gonna be fully Gensokyo up in here. If the demoning away was part of that curse, then you could add Satoshi to the list of victims, right? As I thought about it, I realized that in serial freak death incidents, the overwhelming majority had the last name Hojo. Half of the deaths and disappearances had come from the Hojo family. The Hojo family lived here in Hinamizawa. Did that mean Oyashiro-sama punished and cursed them particularly harshly? Because despite that, they'd been in favor of the dam?
Have you heard the news that Sadako's uncle has returned?
Have you heard the news that Sadako's uncle has returned? Takano-san, who had been enjoying a few words with Tomatake-san, was caught unaware by a sudden inquiry.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
Well, Sadako's parents were killed by the curse and her aunt, too. I was wondering if maybe you went in order, her uncle would be next. Her aunt had a miserable death from the curse last year, and her uncle let his fear take over and fled into town, right? Well, Yoshiro-sama doesn't allow people to try to abandon the village, does he? I hadn't intended to be quite this persistent. Oh, no! Okay. Keiichi's finally coming around to using the curse as a cover to get murders done that he wants to do. Oh. Oh, shit. And we've seen Keiichi does have it in him to murder even people he is close to. if he is sufficiently not well. And considering how much time he spent ruminating over things on his own and not really speaking to his friends, he spoke to them a little bit, but they clearly weren't on the best of terms about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried that that'll manifest again this chapter. That
one wonders.
The death this year is going to be Teppei, the demoning away is going to be Sadako. Oh, no. Oh, Keiichi, no! Well, Yoshiro-sama doesn't allow people to try and abandon the village, does he? I hadn't intended to be quite this persistent, but those words, they just flowed out of my mouth without me thinking about it. That's right. Yoshiro-sama's curse. I didn't believe in something so unrealistic, of course, but the fact was that every year unfortunate accidents and incidents happen to enemies of the village. Like Takano-san said just now, if it had happened 4 times in a row, no one could say there wouldn't be a 5th.
That's an interesting suggestion. It is true that if you look at those sacrificed in previous years, those named Hojo come up quite frequently. Given how long it's gone on for, her uncle being the one to die or disappear this year isn't out of the question.
Jiro, write that down. We can save ourselves for next year. Are you sure I got all my stuff in order just to beat... Well, if you say so.
Not again, Takano-san. Don't laugh about it. It could really happen. I'm sorry, but Oyashiro-sama's curse is my life's work.
Takano-san gave off a mysterious, somehow intellectual impression, and her life's work was mysterious in its own right. She probably really liked inexplicable supernatural phenomena or something. Oh, Takano-san, you seem like you know a lot about Oyashiro-sama. Give me your honest thoughts. Given that he's a Hojo and he's returned, what are the chances the uncle will fall to the curse this year?
My, what? You seem like you really want this uncle of hers dead.
What? No. I mean, don't we all? That's not,
I wonder.
I guess this is the tangible difference. In the other ones, he wasn't still in Hinamizawa.
Yep.
So maybe that does change the calculus. I've speculated before that Tomatake and Mio dying is quote unquote the plan for this year, but maybe having another option changes that.
It all depends on the whims of God. Maebara-kun, do you know the true identity of Santa Claus?
Oh yeah, his name's David. He lives in L.A. He's got a very busy night. Huh? I got a strange question all of a sudden and I couldn't immediately answer.
What, you don't know? It's your daddy. The daddy's in everyone's family.
Wait, what? That's what you meant? Well, of course. Everything ultimately comes down to humans in the end, right? After all, humans are the only ones living in the world. There aren't any animals or other people, or other things that live here. It's just us. All strange things could be explainable in terms of human actions. Felt like I put that somewhat strangely, but Takano-san was not dissatisfied with that reply as I might have guessed.
Oh, it's impressive that you've caught on to that at such a young age. You're right. Strange things that happen in the world of man are all caused by man for his own benefit.
And despite how shitty Mio is being, this is kind of the lens I've been using to analyze all this stuff so far, isn't it?
Maebara-kun, I'll ask you again then. This time not Santa Claus, but Oyashiro-sama. Do you know anything about who Oyashiro-sama is?
Takano-san took a step toward me and gazed into my eyes as she asked, Santa Claus was really the parents of every family's children, right? If lionizing that's a great word, lionizing that legend was a corporate tactic to try and profit during Christmas sales, then what was Oyashiro-sama really? Oh,
didn't you already say? There are only humans in this world. Everything can be explained by human actions, right? Maebara-kun, keep this to yourself, okay? This string of freak death incidents attributed to Oyashiro-sama's curse, Takano-san's view is that they may be premeditated homicides, performed by the people of Hinamizawa and based on some kind of ceremony.
I love this because it's like 50% truth and 50% not, at least on my view. And that's like perfect, this kind of misleading thing, because it's like, oh, you agree with her? No. You disagree with her? No. I like the subtle little thing of tying in some extra baggage onto otherwise pretty straightforward and uncontroversial views. So that way, if you try to defend them, it's easy to get conflated along with some other stuff that you're not arguing. It's a really cute little tactic to make it harder to tease out the truth. RO7, I see you, and I appreciate you.
No, don't misunderstand me. My life's work is to research teachings, thoughts, and cultures from the viewpoint of folklorism.
Plural cultures?
Cultures.
So, other places, too. Actually, that's an interesting question. She seems really monomaniacally focused on Hinamizawa right now, but is that because that's just her current, where she lives, and that's kind of her current interest? Or has she also been, done research on other areas?
Disappointed anthropology major had to get a nursing job because it's hard to get a professorship and study folklore all day, but...
Was she born in Hinamizawa? She works here, but was she born here?
I don't recall if we've heard.
Yeah, because did she take that job up in order to be closer here? Interesting.
I don't really care at all about who the culprit really is. Just keep that in mind, please.
I could tell only that she was saying some crazy stuff. And that kind of does fall in line with how I at least talked about her motives before, right? Where she is really interested in uncovering this, but she also has a thing she desperately wants to be true. But I also feel like that means she it's weird because I feel like both she's a part of it, but also she's not. You confuse me, Mio. To use a food analogy, like you'd force feed a duck to be fattened, she forced her words down my throat. That's what it felt like.
To understand that in the first place, you have to go all the way back to ancient times, when Hinamizawa was called Onigafuchi, or the Demon's Abyss. The Transcendents who lived there believed themselves to carry the blood of demons, and so were only half human.
Takano-san, having entered her home field, leaned forward and began to speak of ridiculous matters, and I could not stop her. Oh no, is this what it's like to have a hyperfixation? Tomitake-san realized she was overawing me and interrupted for me.
Takano-san, you can't just chatter on about that stuff to Maebara-kun. Look, he's really confused. Oh my, are you?
Yes, that's the point, Chiro.
If you want to hear more, ask me anytime. I have heaps of the grotesque stories that boys your age seem to love hearing.
What do you mean they seem to love hearing? Have you done this before?
She absolutely just goes around town telling age-inappropriate ghost stories to everyone's families.
She doesn't do it to Rika anymore because Rika just said, uh-huh.
Everyone's mildly uncomfortable to bring their kids to the hospital because they know the nurse is going to say something buck wild, but at the same time, she's really good at her job.
She's so
you like...
Yeah, exactly. But she's really good at her job, and it would be such a pain to find someone else. Isn't it? We can just deal with that, right? Thank you. If I feel like it, I will. For now, I softly and safely give my refusal. Takano-san seemed a little unhappy that Tomitake-san had rained on her parade, but she stopped talking about it then. Takano in bed. So, Jiro-san, have you heard of this folkloric tale? And that's right, you have to wait until the entire thing is done. Don't tell me that ain't true. Even so, it was still a very interesting story, that Oyashiro-sama's curse, which we thought of as strange freak deaths, were really homicides, perpetrated by people of the village. I mean, if you thought about it logically, it would have to be, right? People wouldn't be dying because of a curse. Someone's obviously killing people and make it look like one.
Indeed. As for who that is... It might be safer not to try and find out.
For who it is, it turns out it's a bunch of different people doing a bunch of different things that just kind of seem to pile up. You seem like you know, Takano-san. You may not have proof, but you seem like you believe it.
Oh my, why do you think that?
I just kind of felt it vaguely, and it seemed like her extreme passion for this research could calm down just because these things were taboo, or because it was safer and easier. This person loved walking through the profound, forbidden abyss of risks and taboos.
Let's leave it at that, Keiichi-kun. I just helped you escape, and now you're trying to talk about Oyashiro-sama again. I wanted to take a nice walk while it was still cool.
Tomitake-san seemed a little disappointed not to be able to go on the date he'd planned since I'd brought up a weird topic. But right now there was something I wanted to ask just for a little bit, and that was about whether Sadako's uncle will be chosen for the curse this year. If he was, then another miracle would happen just like last year.
The miracle of murder.
Right. But again, he's thinking about it in terms of a miracle does kind of frame it in a different light, right? Because like we said, if it is people doing this, then people have their reasons for choosing who they kill, right?
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps one of those reasons is the community coming together to take care of people that the state can't. Maybe that, like, it might be wishful thinking, but maybe that is the reason why Sadako's aunt was targeted. Doesn't make sense why then Satoshi would go missing, but you know, I can see why Keiichi is enamored with this point of view.
Mm-hmm.
A terrible incident would happen again, but would release Sadako from her unfortunate circumstances once more.
Well, I do have a few suspicions as to the kind of people who would probably become involved, of course. It's a natural, inevitable conclusion for anyone who's researched the history of Onigafuchi village.
She's gonna say the Sonozakis, right? Who do you mean? What would I do if I knew? I asked that question to the other me deep inside, but got no reply. The other me deep inside. Again, Keiichi I still don't know what to make of this. He loves to refer to like the other him. He talks to himself like he's a separate person. There is something there, and I fucking don't know what it is.
Plot twist. Keiichi just has a smaller Keiichi that does in fact live in his body cavity. He's just got a homunculus in there.
Plot twist. Keiichi. Oh wait, I have to spoil tag that. Shit.
I was gonna say, like, isn't that?
I think that's a spoiler. Yeah. Fuck. Go watch D8. There you go. That's your thing.
How enthusiastic. What would you do if you knew?
Well, nothing really.
If you found out, you might get into danger yourself, you know.
And it's important that this is only her opinion.
Maybe the 5th year's curse would be you.
But she seems to think it's the Sonozakis, or to a lesser extent, the 3 families. Takano-san, toying with taboo, gave a devilish, satisfied smile, as though nothing in the world would be more amusing. She's probably trying to tease me, but I didn't feel like going along with her little game one bit. Huh. You like to talk pretty big, but you don't really know yourself, do you, Takano-san? Wow!
This is the chapter where Keiichi has a mouth on him.
Keiichi just learning how to talk back to authority at all of the... I'm not saying the wrong times, because talking back to Oishi was pretty awesome, actually. But I don't know what the hell this is. Takano-san being put in her place. I had a tinge of irritation at Takano-san's roundabout way of speaking, but those emotions escaped my mouth like water flowing through a strainer. Even I was surprised at how directly I'd spoken about what I felt. Of course, I wasn't the only one taken aback.
Oh my, you're something. You may be just a boy, but you can still provoke people.
You should see me when I have a baseball bat.
How unexpectedly rugged. I don't dislike people like that, you know?
Takano-san's tongue poked out of her mouth, and I was convinced that it was long, thin, and split in the middle like a snake's. Hiss.
All right, I'll tell you then.
Ugh.
But you have to promise me 3 things first. 1, not to regret it, no matter what I tell you. 2, not to tell it to anyone. 3, not to tell anyone I told you.
I gulped firmly and nodded. Tomitake-san made an exaggerated expression of distress, gave a dry, vague smile, and lit a cigarette. Please tell me, who is putting this curse on people? Who is it? Who's deciding who gets cursed? And after I said that, I finally realized why I wanted to know. So I could appeal to them to take care of Sadako's uncle. So she's going to tell him the Sonozakis, probably, or the 3 families, which makes sense and are also most likely involved with the group putting on the the annual Watanagashi killings. I do think Mion is involved in that group at least.
But also, we get a discretion shot. We don't know what exactly Tomitake told Keiichi.
We don't. I was going to get to that in just a moment.
Okay.
Here. The other thing that makes it confusing, though, is a lot of the other incidents we've seen seem to involve other people with other motives colliding with that established thing. Like Shion and probably Keiichi and Rena in the first chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And probably Keiichi again in this one. Honestly, just how much of this wouldn't happen if you just didn't have Keiichi here? But I think the important thing is that knowing who's behind those one serial murders doesn't solve everything. There are clearly other things going on in this town that can result in murder. But also, we get a discretion shot. We don't know who she says to Keiichi. That's really fun, actually. I assume it's the Sonozakis and or the three families. Like there are two ways to look at it. The Sonozakis are the three families to a lesser extent, which is based on what her own research has said. Or she comes right out and says, "Yeah, we're part of the conspiracy. What about it, kiddo? What you gonna do?" And I have speculated that the people who die might also be a part of the conspiracy. But fuck, I don't know what to make of that. That's so cool that we get a discretion shot, though. Another thing is, are we going to find out later, or do we just not know? That's so cool. Many of my classmates were playing freely in the schoolyard. A few of them had just run out of the school building after putting on their shoes and tapping their toes to the ground. They had just finished eating lunch. From a time manipulating standpoint, I guess I succeeded. What do you mean a time manipulating standpoint?
Oh, Maebara-san, are you okay?
A few girls noticed me and came running over.
That's the sound of a few girls.
It was only natural they were worried. I think it was someone. If someone wasn't there in the morning, they'd be out the rest of the day. I'm just late for school, don't worry about it. Anyway, what about Sadako? Did she come today? Girls exchanged glances. I saw a thin shadow fall over their faces and knew the answer without needing to hear them reply. She was absent today, too. When all was said and done, after being out for 3 days, she'd only come back for 1. And now she was out again. Who knew she would come tomorrow?
Yeah, but the teacher said she got a phone call from Sadako-chan.
She said she had a cold. Chie-sensei said everyone should make sure to rinse their mouths out really well. Wait a minute, Chie-sensei. That's a little too thick-headed, don't you think? You're a teacher, aren't you? Why can't you be more sensitive and catch on to the fact that your pupil is sending out an SOS? But even if she did, there was nothing we could hope for. The most she could do was a home visitation, right? She didn't have any right to take Sadako from her uncle to safety. No matter the result, it would end up just like the public agencies, with a wait-and-see attitude. It would just piss Sadako's uncle off, and her suffering would only grow deeper. Then wasn't saying she had a cold the best option? She's right. Be careful not to catch a cold, you got it? You can go now. There's still plenty of time left in lunch break, right? The girls excitedly scattered into the schoolyard.
Oh, Keiichi-kun.
Rena was yelling out the classroom window, waving her hand. I like how she sounds like Mayuri.
I have a very limited number of different vocal qualities I can do.
Specifically in the oh, I'm going to talk in really slow, loping things like this. Because it fits her.
You should. It'll be funny when you hear the anime voices
I know,
and the canonical VA.
I'm so glad
it's gonna be so different than our interpretation, but I think ours is so valid.
Which is also why I'm so glad we do these on our own first.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I would be able to face up to the level if we knew. I don't think I'd be able to stand up to it if I knew what the canonical voices in VA sounded like.
Although to be fair, we watched Steins Gate first, didn't we?
Yeah. But also, I wasn't very self-conscious when we did that. I've changed a lot since we started the channel, is what I'm saying. A moment later, they poked their heads out.
We were very worried that even you would be absent today. Thank goodness. You don't seem sick. You look pretty okay.
I felt a little uncomfortable with her saying that I didn't look sick, but I didn't care that much.
What happened? Overslept?
Well, late is late, right? Think if I said I was late because of a train accident, she'd have let it slide?
You overslept?
Mion was being a bit persistent. Almost like she knew what was up with my parents. And was she going to put on her club president cap and scold me for being late? Maybe she didn't have it for me, so I briefly stated that she was right.
There's still more bento. Everyone eat up. Without Keiichi-kun here, we couldn't have any fun.
Sadako is still absent, huh? What do you mean you can't have any fun without me? I can't be the glue holding this group together. You realize that, right? Even Rena, feigning cheerfulness, couldn't stand to hear that, and her face darkened. Ugh.
She called this morning. Apparently, she said her cold came back and she was staying home again. She said it might go on for a while, too. She must be sad, so we were all talking about going to visit.
And then writing a note on her shirt, right? With pen to get well soon? Like we were doing in Chapter 1? What are you saying, Rika-chan? Not pleased with Rika-chan wearing a wide smile as though it was a happy occasion, I threw cold water on her. We know best of all she doesn't have a cold, don't we? Don't ever tell a fib like that again, even as a joke. I'll get mad next time. Rika-chan furrowed her brow, looked down, and mumbled an apology.
It's not just you, Keiichi-kun. It's hard for everyone.
Right, but I'm also a guy, and I'm centering myself in this conversation about this other girl's well-being. So, I know I'm not the only one worrying. But none of us can do anything either, can we?
That's true, but...
I got the feeling I would cause another fight if this exchange went on, so I apologized first. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, so forget about what I just said. It's hard for everyone, right? It must be. It was at least clear, however, that I was the only one who had worried so much about rescuing her, and it was important that I was the one who worried. I'm winning the moral fight here. At the very least, everyone else probably got the normal amount of sleep last night. Probably had good dreams, too. They definitely had it stayed up all night, thinking so desperately. Remember, it helps people in bad situations for you to torture yourself over it. That helps them out. That's a good thing to do. That was sarcasm. Please, it doesn't actually help.
I know it might not be what you want to hear right before you get to school, but you were late today, Kei-chan. Did it have anything to do with Sadako being absent?
Huh? Mion, what are you talking about?
Sometimes you act kind of foolhardy, Kei-chan. When both you and her were absent this morning, we seriously thought you might have kidnapped her and hidden her somewhere.
They can just read it on his face. Keiichi in his mind, I am the master of subtlety. Keiichi in reality just has a printout on his face saying exactly what he's thinking at any given moment. Well, it's easy for you to say. I could have if I'd done that last night. Or if I could have, I would have done it last night. None of them had really thought about how difficult that clear as day solution was, though. I was up thinking all night, thinking until the night was brightening. And then I concluded that I couldn't do anything of the sort. Don't be dumb. I couldn't hide someone.
You're right.
But I thought about it for a long time before concluding that.
I'm sorry. I apologize if I upset you.
Could you imagine how hard it would be to kidnap someone and keep them in your murder basement behind chains for a long time?
Yeah, that would be pretty challenging, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be. Don't worry about it. Anyway, let's eat some food. I'm starving. Took my bento box out of my bag. Everyone moved to make a spot for me to sit. Maebara-kun, did you just get here? No, I've been here the whole time. I'm told that works. Just as I was about to stick my chopsticks in, Chie-sensei came along. Yeah, sorry for being late. I overslept. What the heck? Even the teacher was giving me that strange look. When you're finished eating, could you and the president come to the teacher's lounge? There's something I want to talk about. Probably about Sadako, I thought. Sensei left it at that and went back out into the hallway. You're not doing a good job at being an innocuous bystander like the rest of us. So maybe we can browbeat you into being a bystander. I hate how both sides of this I'm like, ugh. Like, it's not good to treat it like it's just normal. But also, like, Keiichi, my man, what you're doing isn't helping. Sensei left it at that, and then I scrolled ahead and went back out into the hallway. Eating lunch can wait. Let's go, Mion.
You're right.
Mion and I exchanged looks and nodded to each other and got up. Also, are you Shion right now?
It's probably about Sadako-chan.
No doubt about it. They were saying she had a cold, but everyone in class knew the truth. I didn't think that would have reached the teacher's ears by now. Hey, Mion, how do you refer to that tiny blue-haired one right next to you?
The same way I normally do.
Fuck.
I kept playing dumb, so I think she gave up asking me.
Revealing the truth to the teacher would only worsen the situation. Was that why she hadn't said anything? Or was it because she was Sadako's friend? And knew that she was trying to endure the trial of her uncle's abuse in order to get her brother to come home?
What should we do? Maybe we should use this chance to get a collective opinion.
What do you want to do, Rika-chan?
Meep.
Sadako's closest and best friend was Rika-chan. However much I pretended to be her Nini, it didn't come close to the amount of time they'd spent together. So I felt like her opinion should be held in the highest regard.
I know why Sadako is enduring her uncle's torture.
Everyone looked startled and turned to me.
Oh, wait.
Oh, I know why she's enduring her uncle's torture. Back then, whenever Sadako was abused, she probably cried and hid behind her brother. But Sadako thinks that in the end, that's why her brother ran away. Again, it's important that she said none of this. This was Coach's summation. You know what? We said that at the beginning of the episode. I'm not repeating that whole thing.
Who did you hear that from?
The coach, I bet.
It's important that they know who, like... They already recognize who he heard it from, so they're like... I wonder if Coach maybe has his own fantasy version of what Sadako's feeling. That makes it easier for him.
Could be.
I nodded quietly. Sadako believes her brother will come back if she can withstand the abuse. That's why she's trying to push through, but that assumption has nothing to do with Satoshi coming back. Hurts to say that about Sadako, but it's the truth, right? Everyone hung their heads. Everyone was thinking the same thing. Sadako probably won't be happy no matter who helps her. She wants to withstand everything with her own strength, but is it really right to respect that? I don't think it is. Even if Sadako hates us for a while, I think there will come a time when we need to save her against her will. I think that time might be now. Told them all about what I saw and how I felt when I went to Sadako's house yesterday.
Keiichi-kun, so you think we should tell someone?
Of course, only after we're sure that reporting it to a public agency will guarantee her safety. Without being sure of that, it could just get more dangerous for her instead, right?
It's a difficult problem. You think we can get a definite promise out of the teacher?
I had no confidence, but we had to try. Meanwhile, Rika-chan had her hand raised for a little while as if waiting for an opportunity to speak.
I will leave it to Keiichi.
What? Is that okay, Rika-chan?
Keiichi is thinking about Sadako more than anybody else here. If Keiichi thinks that we need to tell someone, then I have no complaints.
Thanks. Mion, Rena, are you okay with that? Mion seemed to hesitate, not knowing if she should agree. But when she saw Rena's firm nod, she made up her mind and did the same. Alright, let's go, Mion.
Right.
Only Chie-sensei was in the teacher's lounge. We didn't see the principal anywhere. The schedule on the blackboard under the principal's name said training, going straight home. Our principal's sense of justice was too strong. Sadako's problems wouldn't be solved with something so vague. Maybe it was a stroke of good luck that he wasn't here today. When the teacher saw Mion and I come in, she closed up her curry bento, saving the rest for later. Sit over there, if you would, please. She told us to take a seat in the chairs directly in front of the principal's seat. I hadn't sat in this chair since doing the paperwork for transferring in. The two of us sat there uncomfortably before the teacher walked over carrying a notebook and a ballpoint pen and sat in front of us. Maebara-kun, you were absent this morning. Did something happen? I am very sorry. I overslept. Is that really true? I have no reason to lie. She narrowed her eyes at me in suspicion. We did kind of get like a long shot away from all that. Let's just leave it on the table. Let's just leave this on the table real quick. We don't have to agree with it. We don't have, but let's leave this plausibility. Keiichi murders his parents to make his house ready for Sadako to come by, right? How do we feel about this? We don't have to like it. We don't have to agree with it, but I want to leave it there on the table for now, okay? She narrowed her eyes at me in suspicion. No, I was sure of it. She wanted to talk about Sadako. In any case, I think you two already know this, but your friend Hojo-san has been away frequently lately. Neither Mio nor I had anything to say in response, but the teacher proceeded, not minding. Would you happen to know anything? There are some people in class spreading bad rumors. Mio looked down and remained silent as though she were being lectured. She sent me a quick glance. For one had made up their minds. They'd be leaving things to me. Mion-kun? Or you, Maebara-kun? I won't get mad or anything, all right? If you know something, I just want you to tell me. Sensei, can we ask you a question first? She must not have anticipated that response. She looked surprised. I don't know what rumors are going around about Sadako in class, but if they happen to be true, then what would you do, Sensei? Well, what would I do? If it's true, then I can't leave it alone. Can't leave what alone, exactly? What would you do? Sensei's eyebrows shot up. Maybe I said it like I was trying to pick a fight. Maebara-kun, I am being serious here. So am I. I'm also being completely serious right now. Please answer me. If it were true, what wouldn't you leave alone? Sensei took a few breaths and began to speak slowly. First, I'd have to visit Hojo-san's house to confirm the situation. Her uncle might get mad and drive you away, though. Well, alright. Let's say you did meet with Sadako and her uncle. Then what? Then I'd ask whether it was true. Once I got the facts, I'd go from there. Please stop talking so vaguely. What exactly would you do? Even despite my tone being so provocative, Chie-sensei bit back her emotions and listened calmly. I thought then that she was a good teacher. Chie-sensei really did have her students' best interests at heart, but she didn't have the power or the authority to save Sadako. If she let her sense of justice run away with her, the situation would get more complex. Sensei folded her arms, and for a few moments she closed her eyes as though mentally concentrating. And when they opened again, there was a strictness in her eyes I'd never seen before. There is a law called the Child Welfare Law. It clearly states that the abuse against children will not be allowed, no matter who it is. So it would seem. And then what? I would contact the Okonomiya Child Consultation Center. You said just now that I would be turned away, didn't you? Child welfare officers can bring the police with them if the situation demands. They will not submit to intimidation. How many days would it take after you contact the social worker and submit the paperwork for her to be saved? It would be the same day. Their job is to guarantee the immediate safety of children. I know that. That's if they decide there's an urgent need. If they didn't, then they would do the same as you. They'd go from there. They'd just wait and see, right? They'd just watch. It would make Sadako's uncle's mood sour, and Sadako would be stuck with him there.
Kei-chan, that's going a little too far.
I'm not lying, am I? Last year or the year before, whatever, that's exactly what happened when the child welfare people came, isn't it? And what happened then? You and Sensei would know a lot about it better than I would. I had said too much. I didn't need Mion to tell me that. I was talking crazy and itching for a fight. I was supposed to be telling her about the situation only after I was sure we could save Sadako, but I basically told her everything right from the start. Chie-sensei looked at the clock, stood up, and picked up the phone at the principal's seat. Hello. Put me through to extension 3455, please.
Is this okay, Kei-chan? Is this really okay?
I was too late. The die had been cast. Now we could only pray. Oh, thank you for answering my call. I am Chie, a licensed teacher at the Hinamizawa Branch School. Would Director Watanabe happen to be in the guidance office? Another director, huh? Just pointing out directors. Have we heard Watanabe before?
I think in the case thing, maybe? Or...
Interesting.
I don't recall.
Yes, that is right. Something urgent came up, so I would like to contact the principal as soon as I can. Yes, thank you. Please tell him immediately. Yes, thank you. The teacher put down the phone and tilted her head back and took a breath like I always did. I will ask the two of you again. Are the rumors going around class really true? Yes. Yesterday I went to Sadako's house and I saw for myself just how bad it really is. You can leave the rest to me. I will definitely do something for Sadako-chan. Something. Please stop saying such ambiguous things. Not something we have to save her. If they end up deciding not to wait and see again, then if they decide to end up waiting to see again, then how do you plan on taking responsibility? While I was yelling, the phone rang. Chie-sensei snatched the receiver up first. Hello. I apologize for interrupting your training. Yes. Actually, it is about the issue with Sadako Hojo-san. Yes. Sensei waved us away, telling us that we could leave now. Mion went to leave, but I held my ground. I had a responsibility to make sure she stopped saying such vague, ambiguous things. If it didn't look like she was going to say anything substantial, then I'd tell them the truth, even if I had to steal the phone from her. Yes. No, I haven't contacted them yet. Yes. I have not confirmed it yet, but it seems pretty bad from what the children are saying. It's not just pretty bad. Do something about it right now! If you're going to report it, then don't care who you tell, but I swear if they end up just waiting and watching, I will never forgive you. I yelled angrily at Sensei and the principal on the other end. I wanted to somehow, some way convey to them how dangerous her situation was right now. I understand that. I will tell them as much. Mion-kun, please take Maebara-kun back to the classroom.
Yes, ma'am. Let's go, Kei-chan. We should leave this to the teachers now.
You better promise. Until the very last moment, I glared at Sensei. Chie-sensei was feeling pressured by the likes of me. This isn't the time to feel pressured. Now's the time when you give me a firm nod to reassure me. Even so, we've already left things in her hands. At this point, we really can't do anything but pray. Bang! Mion shut the door to the teacher's lounge. Well? Fuck. Okay, let's see what happens. We got 2 new tips. Article and stats from the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Okay. Our achievement was called Influence. Asked for help from a grown-up. We did do that.
We did. If we click View New Tips, we can jump directly to them.
Yeah, but I wanted to see... It was in this one, right?
Okay.
I want to quickly double-check if Watanabe showed up here.
Yeah.
Yep, this is all the same. From Mr. W.
That could be...
That
W
could be Watanabe. And Chief Investigator F. About the 1997 documents, the D2-3. The DL6 incident, if you will. All right. Article 2. Definition of child abuse. The term child abuse means following acts committed by a custodian, meaning a person who exercises parental authority, a guardian of a minor, or other person who is currently engaged in the custody of a child. Hereinafter, the same shall apply. Against a child, meaning a person who is under 18 years of age. Hereinafter, the same shall apply. 1. Assault the child in a manner that will cause or is likely to cause external injury on the body of a child. 2. Engage in indecency against the child or cause the child to engage in indecency. 3. Substantially reduce the amount of food for the child or abandon the neglect the child for a long time period in a manner that may interfere with normal development of the child mentally or physically, or otherwise materially fail to perform the duty of a custodian. Or 4. Speak or behave in a manner that would be significantly traumatic to the child. Article 3. Prohibition of child abuse. No person shall abuse a child. Law number, Act number 82 of 2000. Authored by the Minister of Health and Welfare. I wonder if that's the actual text of the relevant law.
Let's check.
In Japan. What number did that say it was?
Law number 82 of 2000.
82 of 2000. It was, these are 2 articles of that law. We didn't have the... So there's an Article 1 we're missing here, right?
Yeah, it's the Child Welfare Act is indeed that's this.
That's this.
That
What does
is-
Article 1 of that say? Because they left that out here. Maybe it's not material, but it's interesting that we haven't seen it.
I'm not sure because
It's in Japanese. Yeah, okay.
no, I have an English translation, but it's like the article numbers don't line up. It's like there's been
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
we won't worry about it right now. Let's read the statistics from the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Year 1900 and redacted. Principle
Oh, here we go. I actually found it.
Okay.
Exactly.
Hit
So
me.
Article 1 reads as such: the purpose of this act is to promote measures concerning prevention, etc., of child abuse by determining the responsibilities of the national and local governments concerning prevention of child abuse, such as the prohibition of child abuse, precaution against and early detection of child abuse, and the measures and other particulars for protection of children who have suffered child abuse and support of their self-reliance, taking into account the serious violation of human rights of children resulting from child abuse, the significant impact of child abuse on the mental and physical development of children and their character formation, and the adverse effects of child abuse on the nurturing of future generations of Japan, whereby contributing to the protection of rights and interests of children.
Okay. So kind of just the abstract.
Yeah,
in that.
just the
But it's
preamble.
important that in there I heard that it related specifically to the government's what was the word they used? Their obligations? Was that it? Duties? It referred to specifically what is expected of them to address child abuse, which is... Anyway, who's ready for some fun statistics?
Yeah.
Year 19 redacted. Principal abusers, in case reported to the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Total 5,352. Why is Sadako in the background for this? You don't have to put a face to it for it to be horrifying.
And yet,
It's more horrifying now. Mother by blood. 2,943%. 2,943 or 55%. Mother not by blood. 203, 3.8%. Father by blood. 1,445, 27%. Father not by blood. 488, 9.1%. Year 19 redacted. Instances of type of abuse in cases reported to the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Total 5,352. Physical abuse 2,780, 51.9%. Neglect, abandonment of child 1,728, 32.3%. Psychological abuse 458, 8.6%. Forbidden from going to school 75, 1.4%. Sexual violence 311, 5.8%.
hey, ending on a high note.
You didn't have to end with the dramatic sting there, okay? That was horrifying enough on its own. Fuck. You don't have to oversell us on how horrifying child abuse statistics are, okay? And keep in mind, that's only what's reported.
Yep.
And only what falls into the categories defined by the law. Well, sure hope we're all having fun. I don't have a witty comment or anything. But I guess we'll see you next time.
Peace, y'all.
Bye.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.